We are live for the questions for the expired program. You guys are probably going to be logging on the next few minutes. Anybody have questions, certainly go ahead and put them up on the board. I'm going to pull everything up here so we can do some Q&A. I'm going to give it a few minutes before we really get started here, but if you guys have questions in the interim, feel free to talk about it. George, welcome. We're gonna let some people log on here, but if you have questions, certainly go ahead and throw them out there. Objections, whatever. We're gonna talk about a lot of stuff, different things today. Let people log on here, but if you have questions, certainly go ahead and throw them out there. Objections, whatever, we talk a lot of stuff, different things today. There's some love up there. Oh, that's how this thing does it, huh? Yeah, no, Adam, that'll be recorded to the module. This will be week 7. I think most of you guys are on week 6 if you started before when we first released it. Anyone starting weeks after is obviously behind that, but I think we're going to be week 7. We're going to be, you guys are in week 6. This will be launched on week 7. And then we'll do another one in 2 more weeks. But I figured I did it this way. This would be the most effective way for you guys to sort of go through the system as far as you have. And then as you know, and so there's some interaction versus just having video based of some questions you may have about the system, using the system, results you've gotten, whatever, objections you've gotten that you can't answer, anything like that. Boom, boom. Throw some love up there, some likes. Liking and loving this thing myself. Like adding stuff. Oh, it's kind of cool. Is it wrong to like your own stuff? That's wrong. I don't want to be right. Alright, we're going to give it another couple minutes and get started. And I'm just going to roll into some of the main things I think you guys may be having questions on, but I don't know until you actually get on here and ask me questions. We want to make this as much as a lesson as we can also for the thing, for the course. So week 7, hopefully you guys are getting good results. You know, I'm seeing the post all the time, people emailing me, people putting posts up here saying they're getting monster listings or getting expired calls. I mean, the reality of this program is it should be working to the fact where you should be getting an additional 3 to 5 listings a month if you're doing it correctly. And you should be getting another 1 to 2 appointments a week to be going on besides your normal prospecting, whatever you do. We are going to do a module that's going to cover for sale by owners, listing presentation. I did in the expired program. I gave you a couple bonuses. One of them is cold calling around listings that have sold, what I kind of say and how that works. So if you're doing that as well in a very hot market where there's not a lot of listings and not a lot of expireds to call, that's a lot of times your main focus in this business in terms of getting new stuff, new inventory that hasn't hit the market yet. So maybe it's not an expired, or if it isn't expired, it's an old expired to go after. And don't be afraid to call the old expireds from 3 years ago when the market was rough and they haven't relisted yet. No matter what service you're using, hopefully you guys are using RedX, but if you're using any other services, typically they all have the same ability where you can pull old expireds, and then the system will scan it for you, so you don't have to worry about doing the work, and it'll tell you who hasn't relisted, and then you just call those people and say, obviously, hey, I know your home didn't sell before. Since then, the prices have been skyrocketing. I'm not sure if you've been watching the market at all. If you could get your price, or sometimes a bit more in this market, would you still want to sell? So that's a great way to go after even older expireds. But typically, I'm getting most of the stuff. I'm getting somewhere between 2 and 3 appointments a week, and a lot of them are coming from some old expireds, not more than 7 months old, and then new stuff that hits the market. George, what kind of results are you getting from the system? Have you been booking appointments? Have you been getting anything? And Adam, same thing. Have you been getting anything? Have you booked any appointments? Are you using the scripts? So New York is not as many expireds, so you're probably feeling more cold calls. You're calling around neighborhoods or recent sales and stuff like that. Is that what you're doing? See, Joe, that's it, man. You got to make the phone call. You make the phone call and get in the 2.8 million listing. Dude, that's awesome. 2.8 million listing? You kidding me? If you nail that and nothing sells, this program is paid for itself 100 times over for you. I mean, the scripts work. People don't, it works. You just have to do the work, and it has to be a script that's going to actually make sense. And when you learn the system, you learn the objection handlers. There's only like 5 or 10 objection handlers that really come up. You just have to know how to deal with them, and then sound genuine on the phone when you do it. Adam, so you're cold calling around neighborhoods, so you probably would like that bonus script that I gave you down there at the bottom, which is basically just saying, hey, price, obviously, calling to let you know the home just sold. We're getting phone calls, extra people from the open house who didn't get the house are asking me to find properties in the area, so I figured I'd call you. Number 1, tell you about the home that sold, but number 2, ask, have you ever considered selling yourself? And then you're going to go right into that next script, which is going to lead you into the, how long have you been here? If you were to go somewhere else, where do you think you'd want to move next? When would that be? If it's somewhere between 0 and 12 months, you stay on them. If it's 12 months to 3 years, then you just put them in your drip system and you hit them once a quarter with what's going on. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, refocusing is what it is. It's always good to replug yourself in, whether it's me or somebody else. It's just get advice from someone that's doing it. Maybe you twist it a little bit different. And you go, oh, that sounds better. And and at the end of the day, I've trained with 7 or 8 big training companies, and to develop the style that I use. You may want to plug into me, plug into someone else. Just get different ways, and then find that sort of George-ness. You know what I mean? The inner George who comes out, who is the way you speak and closes the way you speak, so it sounds more natural. I remember the best year when I got the best in terms of actual closing and honing in on my skills was the year I did 2 role plays a day every week for a year, and I did it in the East Coast because that's where I'm from, in the morning before I made phone calls, and then I did West Coast like 11:30 because that's what time before they get on the phones, 3-hour time zone, so they're getting there in the morning. So I'm getting two role plays, East Coast and West Coast, and you just learn the difference in the way they close, and it was totally totally different. Plus I role play with a lot of guys who you see on stage at these different events who are awesome, and you learn stuff from them as well, and you just kind of really, and then you train with a bunch of people, so you just really trying to focus on your skill set. Have you guys had any problems with the modules? Everything working fine in terms of, you know, you put it on, it plays, you can download everything works fine. I mean, I took a while to kind of get that thing out, but there's always bugs and I don't know about it unless I get the call. One of the things I forgot about on this phone call was this webinar, that this is the end of the month, and like me and like you guys, everyone's got closing, so next time I'll try to do it mid-month. Well, the next one will be mid-month. Good. Well, let's talk about the actual making the phone calls a little bit here until we get more questions come up. So best time to call, I cover that in the videos. You guys know it's between Monday through Friday, 8 to 11:30. Or 9 to 12, whatever window. I drop with my kids, so I don't get here at 9, but I used to get here at 7:30 every morning, and I would just hammer it. But it really depends how aggressive you want to get with it. But that's sort of the best time to call. If you miss a time in one of those mornings, whatever you erase, you must replace, what they say. So the next best time, if it's not morning, to call would be sort of like Tuesday and Thursday between 5 and 7. They said Thursday is actually one of the better days to call for whatever reason. Harvard did a study. From 4 to 7 was the optimal time to call. So for whatever reason, that was a great time. Also on the phone calls, you guys don't have to be super dynamic. I mean, these calls, it's really more mundane than it is being super elaborate and doing these crazy closes. It's just talking to people that makes them sound genuine. You have a lot of competition in any market. Everyone's calling. KW does Bold, and these other companies do other programs that are like that. And Mike Ferry teaches the call, and you never know who's learning what, but the reality is everyone's calling now. So you have to make sure your skill set's higher than theirs, but at the same time, you want to come across genuine. Sort of the cadence you use, the tone in your voice, almost nonchalant. You don't really care if you get it or you don't get it. I mean, obviously we all care that we get it, but we won't want to sound like that because they can smell our commission breath. And with that comes, obviously, resistance. You know what I mean? So when we make these kind of phone calls and use the scripts, like I showed you on the live calls and I role play there, it's pretty easy to kind of get through that. That reminds me, have you guys had, Adam and George, have you guys had any objections that you couldn't overcome yet that you need me to work on with you?
Yeah. I was absolutely beside myself because he had a really good court-appointed attorney, and I didn't get to testify unless I was interested. And so he agreed not to.
Did you? Sorry. All right. So if you don't have any of those kind of things, what we can go over is what we talked about already on the system. Obviously using the scripts, going over objection handlings that I gave you. Those are the most common ones to get there. This is the month of May through June, so when you guys are making the phone calls, you want to get on it. Right now you want to really turn it into high gear because this is when the most listings come on the market. Every day I'm seeing them now. They're just pouring on the market. Everyone's getting listings, so you want to really pound these phones because this is when grass is green, flowers are out, people think their house is ready to sell. When we know it was ready to sell 2-3 months ago, but whatever. You want to get them and write them. You definitely want to get pumped before you make these kind of phone calls in terms of the morning, because the reality is, waking up Monday morning, coming in here making phone calls obviously isn't the easiest thing to do. There's 100 million things you want to do, catch up from whatever you missed from the weekend, and then get in here and make these phone calls. The reality is that's not what you want to do. So you want to make sure that you're actually pumped for it. You're listening to music, you've read something inspiring, you meditated. I really don't know what you've done, but the reality is you've done something in terms of getting yourself ready for the actual calls, and then just getting on there. A lot of people have call resistance. They don't want to pick up the phone. They're afraid of not knowing what to say. So, obviously you guys want to, get on there and just pick up the phone and go. I'm not sure if you've been on the video yet where we're talking about my daily schedule of what's been going on. Look. So the daily schedule for me if I went over it on the videos, if you've gone through it yet, I mean, I typically get up around 4:45, and in that time frame, I'm at the gym, and 20 minutes later, I'm working out for an hour, hour and a half. I'm out of there, back, get the kids up, get them on the bus, take a shower, get dressed. In the office, typically by drop them off to school, the little ones. I'm usually in the office by 9 o'clock, the latest. I'm on the phones to about noontime. One of the things that I did cover on the video that I want to make sure they cover here is talking about the actual, when you're making calls and you actually get an appointment. Most people at that point are like, well, I made an appointment for the day, so I'm ready to stop. But it's been shown that you're in, for me anyways, and in studies they've done, that's shown that when you set appointments, you're sort of that high, you know what I mean? So you're better than you were before you set it. So it's better to stay on the phones, because usually when I set an appointment, I have a better chance of setting a second or a third one as well. The most appointments I've ever set on the phone in one day is 9. But that was January 1st. That was a crazy day for expireds, and I definitely just killed it. We talked about the schedule, scripts, not being dynamic, best times to call. We haven't talked about RedX yet. Hopefully you guys are using that. If not, you're using some other call system that's out there. I recommend RedX, obviously, and people get off their ass and just start doing the phone calls. It looks like with the questions anyways, I don't think I covered the headset that I use also. I don't know what you're using, George, down there, but I use Playtronics headset. A lot of people have asked that afterwards, so I like to make sure I put that on the video. Basically, the call system that I have there, I should kind of show you guys while I'm on it. The call system's here. This is the headset, and basically when you push the button, if you watch the phone over there, it picks it up and it drops it off. So you can be pretty much anywhere in the office, and if the phone rings, if you're in the bathroom or whatever, getting something to eat, you can obviously, you never miss the phone call, which is good. This is going to be pretty easy if no one has any questions. Oh, come on. Come on. Sorry, I'm going back and forth, put together a deal with another agent. I'm trying to get everything done at one time. What's the most listings you've taken in a month? 1 month I went on 32 appointments and I grabbed 27 listings. Out of those, I think 25 sold. So I was like, I don't know. That was back in, I think it was 07, 08, but the market had just fallen and shit the bed. But I still sold them all, but they weren't high-end stuff. But I think, yeah, it was like 125 G's just for that month. I mean, it's probably a little more than that because some of them were higher than the $5,000 commission. My average price point has around 220, something like that. I'm south of Boston, but back then those homes were only selling for 175 to 250, somewhere in there. Now they've gone up, obviously, since the market's gotten better. But that was a phenomenal month. I mean, I was just killing it, and like I said, you go over 30 listing appointments and take 27. You feel like a friggin' the man, because you start off with, first of the year, by March you have $100,000 in the pipe. You're like, plus what whatever had carried forward from the Christmas before, the month before. What do you mean, no listings now, but in the future? What's the most listings taken in a month? Yes, it works fine. I think this thing is like updating so slow for me. It might be better to have it this way, actually. Yeah. Nope, I'm just gonna shut it down again. Well, this is gonna be an easy lesson. How long do you call expires that haven't answered the phone at all? Good question. Typically, I use a 1 month rule. I mean, I used to, actually now I think it's like 15 days, but 15 attempts, I should say. After 15 attempts, if I figure if they're not answering the phone for me, they're not answering for anybody. So maybe the numbers suck and they're not, they're not good, or they're just not answering the phone for anybody. And with the, the call system, you can change the numbers to make it say whatever you want. So the reality of it is, I always change the number I'm calling from, so it shows something different. So I know that if I'm calling this number and they're not repeatedly picking up from 4 different numbers I'm calling from, then they're not answering the phone at all. That's obviously leads into potential door knock. It really depends on if it's in a town close to you. If it's a price point you absolutely want and you want that house for a listing, then you can go after the next step, which is go out and door knock it. A lot of guys in different areas, like Adam earlier, he's New York, like he has to door knock because that's just what you have to do. People, how they have responded to that. There's a couple systems out there that allow you to text people. You can find their email. So I saw this email that helps you find anyone's email. But that's a lot of research. There's too many other people to call than to go do that digging work. If there's something that you really want, it's one thing to put it to the side and say, I'm going to go after this one and find out more about it. It's another thing to do it for every single one. There's no way you can do that. You're like, screw it. Okay. Hold on. Oh man, this thing's not doing it. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. I guess I really should have thought about making these calls on the not end of the month day. Well, I'm glad you guys are at least still making listing appointments. I mean, last week we were up to let's see what week 5 was. 258 new listings. I mean, that's basically, with 100 people that are on here, that's basically 2 listings, 2.5 listings a piece. Some guys are really killing it. George, you got 3 appointments already, so that's good in 2 weeks. As you go further through the thing. I mean, really, the first couple of weeks are the biggest thing. We talk about the actual scripts that you're going to use. I kind of go over how to say it, what systems to use, and then you have those things. That's the basis of most of the program. The rest of it is just mindset, what you should be thinking about when you're making these calls, how to get yourself pumped for it, how to not fall off. But the reality is the first couple ones give you the meat and potatoes of what most people are looking for on this program. There we go. That sucks. I don't know why it's cutting out, Alan. That sucks. going live on these things. Maybe next time I do a webinar, I'll do it a different way where we have, you guys can actually log on through Skype or something. We can do like a Skype one, that way everyone can actually talk and you can see each other. Let's see what we got here. That was an objection. We are not listing, but we will be in the future. Yeah, I mean, that's going to happen. We're not going to list in the future. So that's basically a win, win objection. Again, there's only a few that are out there, and one of them is going to be time constraint. When you guys, are going to list again. So you hit it a couple different ways. I mean, you have to figure out why. You have to find out if it's really genuine a problem, or it's just a smokescreen. Why are they waiting? Do they think they can make more money later? A lot of times they'll say, we think the market's going to be better then, and I'd say, all right, I get that, but if I can show you now, and this is on the phone obviously, if I can show you now that, obviously more homes are going to be projected to sell now than they are any other time of the year, are you open to at least list that if you can make more money selling the house now, then you wouldn't fall? Yes, no. Okay, let's go to the next thing. I mean, again, these objection handlers don't have to be dynamic. You're just trying to get them to get off where they're at and keep moving forward on the appointment. You can have dynamic closes. That's fantastic if you have them. But I find the simplest ones are the ones that work the best. You know what I mean? Hey, we're going to wait till later. No, I get that, and it makes sense to me. If you did sell now, whether or later, where do you think you're going to go next? And I may even just shelve that at first and keep going with my next question, because the reality is they always throw stuff at you. That sales wall comes up, so it's really good just to kind of shelve it. If you hear it again, if you can shelve it again and then move on, but if they keep saying it, then you have to handle that, and you'd say something like what we talked about, which is basically like, yeah, I get that you want to hold on, and obviously it sounds like you're trying to make the most amount of money. You're trying to pick the right time, correct? Yeah. So you want to take advantage of all the seller conditions that exist in your favor, right? Absolutely, right. And if that time were now, would you sell the home? Well, if that time was now, but I don't believe it is. That's exactly why we need to get together. I need to show you what's happening in the market so you can make an educated decision on what's going on in today's market. Is 5 good or 6 o'clock better today? If your door knocking and expired, what do you bring in? What is your script at the door? The door script is 100% the same thing as the phone script. It's, hey, I saw your house come off. It looked like I was driving by. I figured I'd knock on the door and then ask you what had happened. It looked like a great house. Did you guys sell it, or is it still for sale? And obviously, if you don't see a sign in the yard, like I don't see a sign in the yards, but I know the area, so I figured I'd drive by this one, take a look at it. Oh no, we took it off. Blah blah blah. But it's the same. You're gonna go the same script, George, that you would on the phone. That's why it's very important that you memorize the script, because you don't want to stand there and hold it and be like, good morning, I understand that you came off the market. You want to know it, and you want it to sound genuine. So the way it's going to sound genuine is if you rehearse it a lot. And I try to make the scripts that I've made very short and to the point, and I like to be very short and to the point. Adam, are you still on, or did you cut out? Did you have any objections that you're getting now that people are saying to you when you're calling them or door knocking them? Oh, someone showed some love. Fantastic. Yeah, my screen's acting funny too on this thing. At least watching it. Okay. Well, George, this is going to be like a coaching call for you, basically. Damn, I should not have picked the end of the month date. Thought about it now. What can you do different than the other agent? All you agents all say you are different. Yeah. I'm sure we all do say we're different. I mean, the reality of this home is you need a different agent with a different approach, because the reality is the last agent you had didn't work. Let me ask you, what are you looking for in the next agent you hire? I mean, I might just flip it on them. And there's 100 different ways you can handle that. Instead of talking about how I'm different, let's talk about how I can make your home different from the other houses that are out there. That may be if you're at the listing presentation, or you'd say what you do different. Like, hey, well, before I can answer that question, let me ask you what the agent did last time that didn't work, so I can make sure what I'm going to give you is a different approach. And if it's not, I don't blame you for going back to them, right? So you can handle that 100 different ways. It's really just, I guess it's nice to have 3 or 4 closes because, again, certain closes work better in certain situations, and there's different closes I use for expired for sale by owners, although they all pretty much work the same. You sort of interchange and play with the words, and it has to happen in a nanosecond to sound genuine. I use a different script, but just yours and make it test a few months. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, you just test it, Georgia, see if it works. You know what I mean? If it's gonna work, it's gonna work right. So, again, I say the same thing every single time. That's why it's programmed in my brain. Same thing with for sale by owners. When I give you guys that module to start closing for sale by owners, which there's a shitload of them in this market. When the market's good, they come out and they want to sell themselves, and a lot of them sell themselves. And the big objection with them is, I don't need to pay you, I can sell it myself. And I always say, oh, I know you can sell it yourself. That's not the question at all. I'm just saying I can sell it for more, even with the commission. If that were true, would you hire me? I'd say yes. I actually do that stuff. That's called anchoring. I do that stuff, a lot of that stuff. I'm very comical when I'm doing that. Welcome, Michelle. But a lot of the for sale by owner stuff is very similar to the for the expired stuff. Only difference is, they're a lot more pompous than an expired listing. Expired listing is basically saying, I need to sell. I need a good agent. My last agent didn't get the job done, so I know I need a good one. Where before they were going to hire their mailman, their sister, their brother, and they still may do that. For sale by owners is just like, hey, my buddy sold, so I know I can do it. I have time. I can show it. They're so pompous. But for sale by owners, the big thing for them is money, right? They don't really care. I always tell them that too. I'm like, you guys don't really care who sells this as long as you net what you want to net, right? Yeah. Well, if I can net you what you want to net and have a commission and do all the work, are you okay with that? Yeah, me too. Let's get started. I mean, it's simple as that. It's just calling them. It's having confidence in your ability, and then driving the car and stopping and saying, I saw the sign in the front yard. I figured I'd stop by. I'm a local realtor, and then start the conversation that way. I know you guys are selling your own. I get it. Let me ask you a little bit about the house, so I can, if I have anyone for it, I think I'm gonna have to switch views on this thing. Make this thing work a little bit. This light's starting to change on me. Let me move you guys. Hi, it's okay. I'm just gonna take you right here, little fella. It's okay. Shh. There we go. I like that view either, to be honest with you. Oops. Okay, whatever. Michelle, any questions for me? You got me live. We're here for another 25 minutes. So let me tell you guys something that's been happening with me. So I've been really pounding the expireds. Everything I've listed, which is kind of an interesting dynamic, which we should probably talk about. I've been using a lot of different things when I've been calling. And one of the things I've been talking about now is when I get into price, I'm like, the price looks fine. Again, if you know your market and you think the price does look fine, certainly use that. But I've taken a lot of listings and I've actually listed them for the price they were at. Some of them I listed for more, and we're only talking 2 or 3 months after they've come off, and I've sold them for more. I mean, I took a home 2 homes in the last month. One came on $239.9. She had 4 agents going there saying they didn't know if they get it. I'm like, I'll get $239.9 all day. I got $259 for $20,000 over asking. And these other agents were there going, we don't think we can even get that. And I was like, 24 hours we had 21 showings and 17 offers. What does that tell you? I had another listing that was on for $569.9. 2 months later, I put it on for $599.9. I'd actually just put it on last weekend, and it hasn't even been a week yet. I think Saturday will be a week. But I just got a full price offer for it. Now, they were on the market for 288 days with their last agent, and their agent actually, just, I don't know what they did or didn't do. The house was in good shape. It just couldn't get the job done from getting the home sold. But they got $40,000 more than they thought they would get. We're talking a few months later. So a lot of these guys just aren't taking their time with the listing itself. A lot of times you can take these listings and just pick them apart inch by inch. One of the things you guys want to focus on when you go after these expired listings, you never want to put the other agent down, but you want to say stuff like, I'm not going to say, I don't want to say anything bad about them. I'm just going to talk about what I would do differently. Like maybe I wouldn't put a picture of a rubbish can or your cat and or some of the MLS photos, just me. You really want to look at these things and go, does this sound right to you? Motivated seller. If you see anyone write motivated seller, make sure in your listing presentation you are saying to that person, like, did you want to tell every other agent in the world that you'll take less than what you want? Because that's what that means to me. So you look for these key words. Seller's looking for offers. Anything like that you can use in your advantage when you're on that same presentation. Like, you don't want to do this again, do you? No. Or if you watch that they kept reducing the price, taking it down, because most agents will take it high and list it long and keep breaking them down. If you see that pattern on a listing, you can say to them, it's going to get you on their side, especially on the call. Like, I saw that you kept reducing the price of the property. Did you want to keep reducing the price until you sold for drop dead price, bottom price, or did you want to price it right and hold tight? No, we want the right price for it. You want market value, right? Yeah, absolutely. Boom. Like, always go to market value. Market value is always like a nice word for us that sometimes doesn't say it's the right price, but it sounds like it is the right price. So we say market value. Let's see what else we got here. Should have boosted this post a little more, I guess. All right. Okay. So let's cover, in case people come on back on, what we had. Best time to call. Yeah, market value. It's a great thing to say. It definitely gets them off their price. Best time to call 8 to 11:30 or 9 to 12. You guys always want to call the first day of the month. I mean, that's the biggest time. First day of the year is the biggest thing, but like July 1st, if anyone listed in January 1, they're expired June 31st, which means July 1 they'll be expired. So January 1 is the biggest date for expireds. The second biggest date is July 1, believe it or not. And that's going to be more, people are going to be like, oh, I'm waiting for the summer, I'm going to go to the beach, all this bullshit. You want to set them up for the fall push. If a seller says, what are you doing differently than what I can do? If the only thing I can say is I cold call people, indoor knock, I have built-in relationships with agents, is that good enough? I mean, any answer is good enough if it gets them off that thing. Like I said a minute ago before you come on, people say, what do you do differently? You'd say, instead of focusing on what I do differently, I like to focus on how I can make your home different from the other homes that are on the market. Or you'd say, hey, before I can answer that question, let me ask you what your last agent did that didn't work, and then I'll show you what I'm doing. And hopefully, if it's not night and day different than what they were doing, then I don't expect you to hire me. You can go back to them. But chances are you'll be like most people and want to say, Deric, let's get started. Something like that. It really depends on, and I just did 2 other ones a minute ago for the same thing. So if you rewind this later on and look at it, that same question would come up. But you can run that 100 different ways. It really depends if it's a for sale by owner, if it's expired, if you're on the phone or in front of them, and then kind of how your banter is with these people. One of the things we should talk about is that if you guys are mirror and matching people, you've learned the system. don't be afraid to swear if they're swearing. Don't be afraid to be polite if they're polite. If they're sitting down, you sit down. If they're standing up, you stand up. You want to mirror match them and be at their cadence, their tone, so they think you're part of your tribe. So you want to kind of, be with it. A lot of times these guys aren't saying, when they say an objection like that, they're not saying I don't want you. They're just kind of saying I need you to close me a little more. Like, just close me a little more. I'm ready to sign. Just close me a little more. I have a few more questions. So if you can learn to kind of take any kind of like, this guy doesn't want me out of it, and make it more like they have a few more questions before they're going to sign, and that mindset of yours, it'll go a lot easier. At least it does for me. Everyone's different, right? $20 minutes to get your questions in now. You're welcome, Michelle. No problem. Any luck with it? Are you using the system, Michelle? Any luck with it? Yes. Facebook today is definitely slow. So I know what Adam's saying now. It's definitely cutting in and out, which is weird. Yeah, so I might ask them, one second, let me just back this one up. I can read this one, George said. We're thinking about using the on-site real estate company. They have these in some of the bigger gated communities. Yeah, I mean, they definitely have those there, and I'd ask them how come they didn't use them originally. If they had used them, I'd say, well, obviously they're not working. If they hadn't used them, I'd say, a lot of the on-site people they work for the developer if there's any new construction that they're selling there. And I'd say, who do you think, whose side do you think they're on? Someone who gave them 100 listings, or someone who's going to sell one property? And if they get a buyer in there for $800,000, do you think they're going to run and show your unit, or do you think they're going to run to the new construction for $1 million? My guess is they're going to try to push for the $1 million, and if for some reason they can't sell it, maybe they'll come back to you. But the reality is, you guys want someone who's going to, fight tooth and nail for the buyers and the best offer for you, don't you? Yeah, that's what I wanted to do too. I don't have any relations or ties with anyone else in here. I'm not selling another property. When you hire me, I only sell your property. I'm not going to sell your neighbor's house, because I guarantee you, if I listed your house and you found out a week later that I sold your neighbor's house around the same price, you'd be pissed, and so would I, obviously. So the reality is, I'm working for you, and if you want someone to work for you only, that's what I do. Something like that, I think that's more a smokescreen objection than anything else. You also say something like, if you're looking to make, it sounds like you're looking to find someone who works with a lot of buyers for your property. Is that right? The good news is I'm not a guy. So you can do anything like that, George. Yeah, well, Brian's a good guy, so it's good to see what he says. In terms of the system itself, it's really the same system everyone's using. It's just calling. The only difference for you would be the scripts that we use, and you get into more of my scripts, my objection handlers, and my mindset. Everyone has a system you have to train. I've trained with 100 different people myself. You want to train with different people and find out what system works best for you. So hopefully you're setting appointments and you're getting on listing appointments. This is the time to get out there and actually make it happen. So you want to definitely make sure that you're really pounding the phones now, working hard. I know it's starting to get, like in the Boston where I am, I'm south of Boston, but I'm in Boston, Massachusetts. It's just starting to break the good weather. You guys are probably all in LA and love it out there. I'm in Boston. The weather's been crappy forever, so people, you know, you don't. The last thing you want to do is sit in an office and make calls for 3 hours every day. But I always tell people, get it done early. You know what I mean? 8 to 12, 9 to 12, anywhere in that time zone. If you do that 5 days a week, you're going to be doing very well. Any problems you have are going to go away because money's going to make them go away. You know what I mean? You can't get, you know, you have too much deals, hire an assistant. You know, you have to be here to pick up your kids, or you need someone to watch kids because you have more listings going. Now you can hire a nanny. I mean, it's just, it solves a lot of problems. Money, that is. Well, we got 15 minutes. I want to make sure I'm getting anything else in there in terms of using the system and expired listings. We've talked about what headsets we use. It's further on there. What scripts we use, getting pumped for it, my schedule, mindset, to-do list. To-do lists are big. I've covered this before in the system itself, but literally the last thing you want to do, and you know, I train with Ferry as well, and one of the things they told you to do is every day get a listing appointment. Is that possible? I guess for some people, but it never happened to me. And I used to set myself up for failure at that point. Now, when I do to-do lists, I definitely would have it on here, you know, I'd actually physically write out, get an appointment, or even get 2 appointments, and I'd have about 10 or 15 other things I do every morning. And even if I don't cross that line off because I didn't get an appointment, if I'm crossing all the other lines off and I'm getting 99 or 95% or 90% of what I need to get done during the day, I mean, it makes you feel good. But if your whole goal is just to get an appointment and you don't do it for the day, you feel like shit. And it's not gonna make you want to call because you're setting yourself up for failure. You keep doing that until you get one. So I mean, but the reality is you definitely want to, you know, get on that in terms of doing a to-do list. All right. Well, one of the things I forgot, like I said, I've been saying in the video that we have is and people can pick this up after, they're still going to be able to see it. I keep cutting out on this for some reason. Too low. Come on. I hate these video cameras. I just seem to be 100%. Okay. This is my good side. I hope these videos make you guys laugh too that I created. I try to put a lot of humor in there. I try to make people laugh during my presentations. I think humor is a big part of getting through tough times, tough questions, you know, especially when you're asking about pricing and money and commission. You know, so it's definitely one of those things that you want to implement into your system as much as you can. You're welcome. So the other thing we're going to be talking about is going to be the launch of the for sale by own product. That'll be coming out probably another 6 to 7 weeks, and then obviously the listing presentation. I think by the end of the year I'll have 3 modules out total, so you guys can grab those. They're all going to be roughly the same price, $300, which is short money for my presentation, for my scripts, for my for sale by own script, and we'll have other stuff out there that'll be, you know, a bunch of different things. Like Brian does stuff, Colton does a lot of stuff, I do stuff. Just trying to get some things out there at affordable prices for you guys to go ahead and use. When do you feel like you made it with calling expires? You know, when do you feel like you made it with calling? What do you mean made it? Like I was successful? Is that what you're asking, George? Like when do I feel I was successful at doing it? You know, it's a good question. It's one of the things I asked my coach at the time when I was going through a stage of like, thank you, Deric. Great name, by the way. Thanks, Scott. I asked my coach one time, and he goes, "Are you going on 2 to 3 appointments a week?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You're there." He goes, "You know, you're in the top 1%. I mean, the guys you see on stage who are doing 10 or 15 million. I mean, that's just a different animal than anything else. And what those guys don't tell you is that they're doing more than calling. Even though they're saying they're calling, they're doing advertising. They're doing Facebook ads, radio ads, billboard ads, mail outs. They're doing everything. When we talk about this expired system, we're really just talking about mainly making the phone calls. But a lot of these guys you see on stage at all these different events will tell you they're doing this. And I know a lot of those guys, and half of them are bullshit. And they're doing a ton of different things, and they make it. And a lot of them are good. And you don't get there by not being good. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of those guys do 100 different things besides just that. Even having buying leads. It's just, you'd be surprised at what, you look at the people and you finally see them doing this, you're like, holy shit. I try to give it to you the way it is, straight. If you're going on, 2 to 3 appointments a week, you're there. You've made it. You've started closing people. Again, every area is different, but you got to be working your database. You have to be working your expired listings, your for sale by owners, and your cold calls. And then obviously anything you get off internet stuff, like you want to be having stuff out there, whether it's Facebook ads, using different sales funnels to try to drive people to your listings. On Facebook you can take one of your listings and you can put it out there and do a quick Facebook ad with a post you have with a bunch of photos, and you can target people by demographic, people that live within 5 and 25 miles of the property that make a certain amount of money. Let's say it's a $500,000 house, they want to make over $125,000, $150,000 in income, man and woman, that have actually searched for real estate in the past, or buyers or first-time buyers. You can target an ad so that when you spend $100 for to run an ad to connect to let's say 6,000 people, then they're going to see it on their screen, and that's a great way to actually get some more business in terms of the getting them sold. And so when people ask you what you do differently, you can say you use Facebook as one of your tools to do that as well. And then after you actually run an ad, you can see the results and actually bring those to listing appointments. Go and see, I got this listing in front of 18,000 people within 30 days. For $250. You don't tell the price, but Scott, breakthrough. What are you talking about? The system's a breakthrough? I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. We just talked about that earlier, Deric. It'd be about 15 times. I use a 15 rule. So if I call from different numbers, so every day I may change the number I'm calling from on the caller ID because of the call systems. Redex, you can do that, and other systems you can do that as well. But I figure 15 times attempts, not 15 days, 15 attempts, and your call log should be saying how many times you've attempted to call them, and all the numbers, because I'm sure you have more than one number for the person. But if you're going 15 attempts and you're not getting through to them, shit can them. Don't even keep them on there anymore. It's just a waste of time. You'd be getting to other listings or doing other stuff. There's only so many calls we can make in a day. We don't want to miss any of them, so we want to make sure we get through the calls. And again, as you get through the calls, there's always someone else to call afterward, whether you're calling your database, your expired listings, your for sale by owners, or your cold calls. You should be making somewhere between 25 and 35 connects a day, Monday through Friday. If you can do that simple math, and let's just say you did 25, that's 125 a day, 125 a week times 52, you're talking 6,500 people. There's definitely people in there that you're going to get, even if you only get 1% of that back, or you get 10% of that back. No, 1% would be 65, 10% would be 650. So if you get 65 fucking deals, or at least appointments, and let's say you only close half of them, that's 32 besides what, and this and then you get your other stuff that comes in off of referrals and all that other stuff. But if you're listing 65 homes a year in this market, as long as you don't tell them someone who owns a $200,000 house is worth $1 million, if you're realistic with your pricing, you should have probably at least 60 sales minimum, I would say, as long as you're not, just telling them hi and writing them along. And even that's going to lead to listings, because people are going to call that sell their home, and eventually you're going to pull stuff off of that. Any other questions, Deric? We're going to be wrapping up in about 5 minutes, and I got in here a little bit later. You can always rewind this video later on after I finish it and watch it. We answered a lot of questions, but if you have anything, if you're using the system, you have questions you want to ask, I don't want to keep it going light and dark. I'll be sure to answer them now while you guys got me live. Oh yeah, you're welcome, brother. Are you having success? Are you out there making calls? You going on appointments, Deric? Comes in time. It definitely comes in time. You know, don't beat yourself up if you don't get as many as you want. Every area is different. There's guys that are, you know, going on 5 appointments, you know, every week, and it's the area. You have to also look how many homes sell in your area every month. You know, you get a guy that works in Detroit, and they're having, just in that town of Detroit, which is a big town, you know, they're having somewhere between, you know, 10 to 15,000 sales a month, as opposed to, you know, you might be in a town that has, you know, 75. So it's hard to get a big piece of that pie if you're not in an area where you get a ton of them, but that's why you call other areas too. You don't just stay in the one town, you start to stretch it. If you have to go more than, you know, I don't recommend going more than an hour out of your way in any direction, and if you're gonna go, you get a town that's an hour away, they better be pre-qualified, it better be a, you know, a decent listing for you, because no one's gonna go out for a $4,000 commission, you know, an hour ride, or maybe you are if they're going to price it right. I mean, I've taken listings that are more than an hour out, but I've made sure on the phone that they were pre-qualified. They were okay with the price point we were kind of looking at. I thought the price that we talked about was in line, because I always ask them what do they think the price is, and if I think that's in line within a few percent, then I'm not afraid. But if you want a listing that's $100 grand over price and you know it, and this guy's telling you, I'm not, you know, he says stuff to you on the phone like, I'm not giving this house away, I put too much money ahead to walk away from this equity, you know, it's just in la la land. It doesn't make sense to even go on that. Or what you do is the other route is go, you know what, I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing for you. Sometimes that means not even using me. I want to make sure I get an agent that's going to represent you in the way that knows that area 100% better than me. I'm actually an hour away. I've sold property out there, but the reality is I want you to have a local expert, and then you actually refer to an agent down there and still get 25% for making the call. No, they say no. That's the, you know. Thank you for saying that, but those are ones that I recorded that were good. You should see how many go fuck yous and no's I get every single day. You know, people don't say yes to me. I don't set an appointment every single day. You know, I go through it a lot of times on the phone. I'm actually interviewing them as they're interviewing me. So if I start to hear something funny and I keep hearing it, I let them go. I mean, sometimes I know I can close them for the appointment, but I'm just like, eh. So don't feel bad about that. I don't go on an appointment every single day, and I don't get a yes every single day. It's not, the reality is it's not like that. I work hard, I do a lot of deals, but you know, I'm not getting an appointment every single day, especially with just expires. You know, I'm getting a lot of appointments. I'm probably going on 3 a week, if you want to know what's going on, and I'm probably taking 1 to 2 listings out of those every week. So that's why I do something between 50 and 75 deals somewhere in there. But that's me. The team does more. But just for me, that's where I'll be in that realm. And that's how it works. It's just, you got to make those phone calls and stay on it. And you know what it is? It's really just staying on it. It sucks to sit in an office every morning and make those calls, but that's our job. That's the ability I have, so I can go home every day at 6 o'clock. I can take weekends off, or at least take Sundays off and work a half day on Saturday, because I've set myself up to be that way, where I can determine my own schedule. You know, I had people today that wanted to go see something on Saturday, and I have to go to a community, and I'm like, no, I'm not going. You know, they want to go look at something. I'm like, hey, you guys are gonna have to wait till Sunday, or that Monday, more like Monday, because the reality is I don't feel like working on Sunday either. And I sold their home in a day. They want to buy it fast, but the reality is they're gonna wait, because I can do that now, because I have that ability, you know. And I'm not being pompous by any means, but there's certain things I need to, I can't let a last minute thing, say I've seen something I want to get in tomorrow to affect it. You know, obviously in this market, you know, if it's a very hot listing they want to get into, it's one thing to have that and say, all right, I'll have someone cover for you and take you there, a showing agent do that for you. It's another thing if, you know, these guys want to do construction, so you can be ready for a year. You know what I mean? Well, that's going to wrap up our call today. I hope I answered all you guys' questions. Leave any comments, like this thing, put it out there. Even if you guys are watching it later on, this is going to go in week 7. You know, my mistake was I waited till the end of the month when everyone had closings. Stupid. I didn't even think about it. I just wanted to do week 7 and put it in there. But I will be doing another live webinar. We'll have more people on there the second week of May, and I think that day is going to be May 12th. May 12th at noon. So put that in your calendars for another webinar. Bring your questions, scripts, comments, anything like that. Hope you guys like this. Hope you like the time I gave you. Look forward to seeing more results on week 6. I'll tally those up this week. Who's got listings and put it up there. And if you have any more listings that you guys have gotten, certainly free for you to IM me, put it on the page, whatever you want. Report to me in any way you want to. Most people just email me saying I took this many listings, and we're going from there. As always, your boy Deric coming to you live from my office, what I call the war room, making cold calls, making business, getting it done, Deric style. Thanks for your time. Talk to you later.